people, we are back. A2TP podcast, episode 133, and it's your boy, International Walk.
It's your girl, Tosh, the co-hostess with the mostest.
And we are back for another episode of us. Let's get over the logistics. A2TPodcast.com, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Anchor, Breaker, Google Podcast. She just scratched me. Every time she touched me, she hurt me. Oh. Google Podcast, Twitter, TikTok, and fresh inspiration on Threads.
I was telling you.
Get right to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Other than you giving me like a little bit of two right now.
Well, you touched me. You scratched my leg. That's what you just did.
I went like
I know
this.
You didn't mean to, but your nail scratched me.
That was very unintentional.
That's all I'm saying.
I was doing like that. I'm sorry.
You got to fingertip it next time, not nail.
Fingertip it. Ew. I'm doing great. Mentally, I'm a 10. I feel great.
All right. You want to put a little enthusiasm behind it?
Well, I had to think about it and do an assessment. And I do. I feel great. I had a great day today, a work day. We're in a great place. I'm in a great place mentally. My family's doing great. My friends are good. You know, and all of that. Maybe I shouldn't let it as much, but it does, you know, when you have things on your mind, if things aren't good, even if it's not you, you know, I kind of take on other people's stuff that we're working that out in therapy. But I'm good. I was about
to say, that didn't sound too good.
But I know it's not a good thing.
Like,
but
I take on other people's shit. Like,
well, I mean, if somebody you love isn't doing well, then that could like kind of burden you a little bit.
I understand what you mean. It's just the word.
That's what I mean. I don't mean take it on like, you know, but all is well. And
words matter. That's all.
At this moment, I'm a 10, and I thank God for that. Financially, I'm a 10. Thank God for that. We had some grown-up business to handle, and, you know,
motherfucking trees is falling.
But you know what? We spent, what they say? You spend money.
Come in one hand, go out the other hand.
Yeah, well, money went out one hand, came in another hand, came in the other hand unexpectedly. And I'm just grateful that God, you know, we do what we're supposed to do, and we're focusing on being more obedient to God. And I know that He will continue to bless us and allow us to be a blessing to others. To whom much is given, much is required. And I'm grateful. Work is a 10. Work is a 9. I'm sorry. Let me take, you know, I'm back in a leadership position. I love my job. I'm learning a lot. Working with people or like in a leadership role, you know, it can be challenging. It ain't bad at all. I'm just, you know, remembering, you know, what those challenges were. I hadn't been in a leadership position where I had direct reports for 4.5 years. I more so managed entities. But now managing people, it's like, aha, I remember this. You over there jamming, okay, in your own little world. And then physically, I'm a 9. I feel good. I could feel better. Gotta, you know, get back on my time management with doing things for myself. But yeah, so overall, I'm good. I'm a 10, 9, 9.
Yep, 10, 9, 9.
How are you?
I am... I'm good. Mentally, I feel like I am a 9. Put myself down for an away bag. Feel good. Mind is sharp. I'm good. Nothing stressing me. No stress. No drama. Thank God for that. Mm-hmm. Finances is a 9. Obviously, motherfucking trees are falling. You know, you're doing grown up and house shit. You gotta get trees and shit cut down. For anybody out there who ever had got trees cut down, you know the process. So it's, you know, it's money, it's thousands of dollars, it's time, it's a bit much, you know. An arborist is what they're called, people who cut trees down.
You're pretty efficient though.
Yeah, they are efficient. They do what they come to do. They don't fuck around. But yeah. That's what I'm talking about. See, you in your own world. Finances is a 10. God is always...
You just said it was a 9.
Did I?
Yeah.
Well, work is a 9. Nothing's a 10. Work is a 9. It's all right, you know. It's all right. Physically, had therapy today. Every time we do this, we film this show, is the day I had therapy, and I feel good.
But you're almost done.
I am almost done. I'm graduating next week. Have a little graduation. My wife gonna come. You only allowed one person, so.
Period.
Yeah. It's not like I would have a gang of motherfuckers there anyway. Physically, I feel like a 9. Wows and woes. Ups and downs, stops and goes, blacks and whites, fingers and toes.
I got 10 of them, thank God. Some people got 12.
Inhales and blows.
Pause. Was that a pause? That pause word?
No, you just pausing shit to be pausing it.
Well, when you say blows, you know.
Oh, I didn't know just saying blow meant pause. The context.
That could, blow can have various meanings.
Right, but just to say blow isn't pause.
But, okay. All right. My wow.
Because I could be talking about the cocaine.
Yeah, that's what I said. My wow, just being in a great mental space. You know, I don't take that for granted. You know, there's been some life changes in our family that had me a little unstable for a couple days, but I'm feeling great. So I'm just gonna pat myself on the back for utilizing my tools that we pay for and learn. And I have an amazing husband. I also want to add another wow. He made me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for the first time in our life, almost 22 years. He doesn't like peanut butter and jelly. We had a conversation. Just talk about it, and the next day he made me one, and it made me feel so nostalgic. It was so good. And it wasn't just like, oh, he made me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but yes, he made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Just those little acts of kindness just warm my heart. So again, that just contributes to my overall mental wellness, and that's just my wow. I feel good. Feeling good is a wow, because you just can't take that for granted. People deal with things that you don't always know about. And I ain't saying I'm like have no diagnosis of depression or anything like that at all. Thank God, I'm not claiming that on my life at all. But people go through things, and it's good. It's a great feeling when you're not, when that sense of peace is a great feeling. So that's just my wow. My woe, the continued murders in Philadelphia. And I mean, we know there's been some more murders of people with more notoriety than others, but just across the board, it's just, it's disheartening. It's disheartening. I see people that I know who are like, they're afraid in a different way, like for their family and friends, because it gets to a point where you think like, one person, like how, I think for the younger generation, we talked about this before, it's unfortunate, but they've been desensitized, because like our nephew, by the time he graduated high school, he had seen so many classmates and stuff, it wasn't like a shock. But for somebody at like on our age group, at some point, if you're constantly having family members and friends, that's kind of like a shock to, it could be a shock to our system, because it's like, whoa. Like, yeah, murders and stuff have been happening since time immemorial, but when it starts happening like that rampantly, and, you know, it's just a lot. So that's just my woe. Just praying for our city that we love, regardless if we live there or not. We always are from Philly, and it's sad. So, yeah.
Wow is just the happiness that I live in. Just making it another week. My relationship with God, I'm just happy about that. I'm just happy where I am in life as a man. So I'm just, you know, that kind of makes me feel good. To piggyback on what she said about the woes, and we'll speak more about it into the show, but just the way that the city is, like the murder of young people and the plight of young people, the desensitization of young people, people just dying left and right around you, whether it be young people in the street or somebody 35 years old that is, you know, having something to deal with. It's just crazy that you get to a certain age and whether it be ailments or murder in the street or whatever it be, things just happen, and you know, you don't want to see people pass away. You don't want to see people die. Young people getting murdered in the street. Young kids didn't even get a chance to live a life. It's sad. It's a shame. And we should speak more to that. And I don't know, like have a plan or some type of approach to stop shit like that. And I don't even know where to start. Like it's people out there who speak about this stuff, who have it's their lane and they do this stuff every day, but a lot more people need to speak to the plight of young people and where they are and how rapidly they're dying. And that's just my will. Yeah. So to start off, everybody knows $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. Everybody knows Gillie and Wallow, and I want to speak to this as positively as I could. But his son, Gillie's son, was murdered the past few days ago. Already had his funeral. So it was a week ago. And it's a fucking sad thing that you got two people who pour so much into the youth, who gear their movement towards youth, and something still like this touches your family. It just lets you know that no matter how successful you are, no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, whatever your mission is, it's sad that this is a part of it. And when life cycle goes in reverse and you're a parent burying a child, it changes you. It does something to you. A piece of you dies, I would assume. And it just feels different. Even though this isn't my family or this isn't a person I know personally, it just feels different to see a person or deal with a person that has lost a child. I have a friend personally at work who has lost a child, and I can physically see it in him sometimes, some days. And it was 2 years ago. So it's crazy how, you never know what people are living with. And like my wife said, to whom much is given, much is required. There's a lot around that, but we should just speak more to the plight of the city, the plight of the young people, how rapidly they're dying. And we got nieces, we got nephews. There was a girl, 32, shot in a car sitting in the driver's seat, shot like 15 times. Like
almost looks like an assassination.
Yeah, it just looks like it doesn't matter who you are, where you are. Kids will kill you, and they don't care. And I think it's simple. But if you ask me, it's as simple as I don't give a fuck. Like, you could sit one of these kids down and be like, yo, you're going to go to jail for 30 years. I don't give a fuck. Yo, you're going to kill somebody else's kid. I don't give a fuck. Yo, he with his mom's now. You can't shoot him. I don't give a fuck. Like, they just don't give a fuck about anything. And that's the plight. It's as simple as that, but I don't know what the fuck to do, if you got a 12-year-old who don't give a fuck about nothing.
It's one of those things that you think to yourself, at what age? I mean, I've heard you speak about how, like you said, that they're starting at 12, so maybe, we roll it back a little bit to 10, which seems really early to start talking about, like,
it's 5th grade
job training and stuff like that. But it makes we know when people don't have anything to lose, when they feel like, going to jail, so what? Like, I don't have to worry about losing my house. I don't have to worry about losing my job. You don't have your clothes and your sneakers to wear. A lot of your friends probably in jail too. So you're not, it's one of them things where you think, how can we help them have, and when I say we, I mean society. I'm not talking about us, because as much as we care, that's just not our lane at this juncture in our life. But how can they be helped in a manner where they have some sense, some foundation? It obviously, and this is no shade to parents, because I do believe that a lot of it comes from home, but I don't believe that all of it, because there's some parents that do their best and kids will just, the street is a bigger pool, or that influence from their friends, that peer pressure from their friends is a bigger pool than what their parents is able to instill in them. But somewhere along the line, the foundation is either not set or is broken from home. So how can we reset a foundation where they have something to care about, they have something that they value, they have something that they respect, so when they look at it, they think like,
what is that,
I ain't trying to do that because I don't want to lose this. Like, I don't want to.
What is that though? Because you can't say it's materialistic things, because these kids are hustling and having their own shit, and not necessarily with drugs. You got kids out here who just sell sneakers and shit like that. Like,
but not a lot of them. That's what I'm saying. That a lot of them, like the robberies and stuff a lot of them don't have anything, or they get a little bit of money they spend it and then they go a long time without it. So yes, they may have their little hustles here and there, but how can we set the foundation to show them like you can have money long term if you get it the right way?
Yeah, but when you're talking to a 10-year-old, you can't
That's
talk
why I
to
said
a 10-year-old and
kind of
start
young
talking
to talk
about money
about.
long
Yeah,
term.
yeah.
I'm talking about these kids are dying in the street and they got on a Mary hoodies, laying there dead. That's $1,000 hoodie. So what I'm saying is they have their ways of hustling beyond the ways we had of hustling. We only had selling drugs when we was coming up to hustle. Girls had boosted. It's different hustles out here for these kids. I personally think it's environment. Like no matter what the foundation is inside the house, you come outside and you live amongst poverty and you live amongst struggle. I just think that everybody on top of each other, like that's where things happen, and because the crime is because of approximation, like
proximity.
A proximity, like you rob and take from the people that's close to you. It's not like you getting in the car and saying let's go to the white neighborhoods and kill. No, it's right here in front of us. So it's environment, if you ask me. Like you come outside, you see what you see in Philadelphia, and you realize after time, this is fucked up around here. We live in fucked up situations. So the mentality is different. It doesn't matter what the foundation is.
But so, I mean, but you got to think like everybody can't leave Philadelphia.
Right.
So at some point you have to think about, that's the environment.
Everybody can't leave at the same time. But when you say that, like, I don't agree with that. You can't leave.
Well,
everybody can save
but I don't
money
think
and go
that's
somewhere.
the fix if everybody leave, because not everybody wants. So we have to figure out, yes, some people, we have to figure out how to make it better so that you don't have to leave. Like at this point, it's almost like you gotta leave in order to be safe. How can we fix it, considering that not everybody will or will be able to? What is the, and I'm not asking you to say the answer. So let's speak in reality.
At this point of where the city is, what approach is it to be taken? You can't talk to 10-year-olds.
Well, you can talk to 10-year-olds. You also have to have parental involvement, because I will say, even though, let me go back to my statement, not all parents are to blame, I do believe it is the parents' fault if your 10-year-old is out there selling drugs. If your 12-year-old is out there selling drugs. There is a certain age kids get to where they be, that 14, 15, 16-year-old, stage. But 10 and 12-year-olds getting killed at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 2 o'clock in the morning in a Chinese store, nah. That's the parents' fault. And I understand there are some situations where parents have to work, but I know some women who have uprooted their entire lives, meaning I'm gonna quit this job because that's not convenient for me to be able to be a parent, or I started this job but I gotta go work. I can't come back because it's not allowing me to be there. So as a parent, your children have to be priority
mentality,
and in order to make sure that they are protected. If you don't have the proper the proper system in place to make sure that your 10-year-old ain't in a Chinese store at 2 o'clock in the morning while you're at work because you work an 11 to 7 shift, maybe there needs to be a different mentality where you work a different shift. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow for some people who just got to put food on the table. So I think it starts with kids, but it also starts with the parents.
Where would it be effective at? You say we can talk to 10-year-olds, but okay, that's not going to stop 17, 18, and 19-year-olds from dying in the street while we're talking to 10-year-olds. So where it's at now, what would be the approach? I mean, do you think it should be like a National Guard type situation to like eradicate the city of the guns and the murders and then start fresh?
I do think that,
because I don't think that you're at a point where you can just like put some programs in place and talk to some kids and it's going to change.
I don't think
that's a forgotten thing, but I just think it's too far to get out there and start outreach like, yo, put the guns down, stop all this shit. Like that's past that.
Yes and no. I do think for some people, absolutely, it's past that. So yes, when National Guard, or whether they like when they did Operation Safe Streets back in the early 2000s.
Not to cut you off, because what I'm talking about is when you sit these kids down and say, this is what it is, and you shouldn't, and they say, I don't give a fuck, then what do you do?
Right. So what I'm saying is there needs to be, there isn't a one method. There needs to be several different initiatives, whether it's the legal system or the yeah, the legal system, the police, the National Guard, whatever it looks like, and then bring in some job training, because you might have 20 dudes on the corner. If 2 of them said, you know what, I heard what the boy said, I'm going to enroll in this electrician program, I'm going to enroll in this welding program. All right, you still got 18 left, but you got 2 out that you could save. And you never know, they start working, they start making money. Maybe the people who are talking to them can't persuade them to change, but then maybe out of that 18 left, maybe 2 more might see their homies who made that decision, and that persuade them. Now you got some of them who are just going to get killed, who are just going to go to jail. And nobody won't be able to stop it.
That's just their story.
That's just their story. But there are some that can be saved. Education. Some of them, we know.
Schools in Philly are raggedy though, babe. It's raggedy.
Well, but the thing
raggedy
is, having a basic education. I'm not talking.
I understand. I mean, don't get mad at me.
No.
I'm just saying, like,
no, but I mean, but I think that's too general of a statement.
The curriculum. Well, let me finish. The curriculum is the curriculum. It has been that for years. There's certain schools in Philadelphia that are care about kids and do a bit more for the kids, but then there's a whole lot of schools that don't have fucking air conditioners in them. They got the same curriculum. The teachers don't give a shit because of environment and what they have to come through every day, and the kids that they're dealing with every day. So you can't ignore that side of it, is all I'm saying.
I'm not ignoring that, but what I'm saying is, if you help some of these kids, we know how a young man in school or a young woman in school who isn't learning as fast as the others, or who feels discouraged, they're going to start acting out. Then they're just going to stop coming. And then we know, when we start breaking down the psychological aspects of their behavior, some of them are acting out in anger because they just dumb and they don't have anybody to motivate them or push them. But if they get some of that one-on-one attention, that doesn't mean everybody is going to, be persuaded to go to that GED program. But some people, you just need that extra intervention. So again, I don't think there's one solution, but it needs to be multiple entities that come together and unify to say, okay, we're going to create an action plan and then deploy. And whatever you capture, it's like tossing a net out there. Everything ain't going to get caught.
I think it's a fear of and outreach is dangerous now, because they shooting up vigils and funerals and shit like that. So you, like, out in the street with outreach is dangerous with the firepower that these kids have. I just think coming from the streets and you having to used to be that, it's a certain age, like, and I think it's like 14, 15, where it's like they're gone. And it's a shame, because she's talking about speaking to 10-year-olds who probably just don't have the brain capacity to grasp what you're saying. But at 14 and 15, I think you're already gone. That's just how I used to be, like what it used to be with me. So at 14, 15, I think that outreach will fail. Like, you can talk, you might get through to one. And a lot of people say if you save one, that's
Absolutely.
enough. But you're talking to thousands of kids. So if you go talk to a room of 2,000 kids and you save one, yeah, you proud of that, but that's 1,999 kids that might go out there and get killed and shoot other people.
Well, I was saying 1 out of 100, which is 1%. So if you talk to 2,000, okay, and you get 20, then, that's still your 1%.
That's going by your theory.
Yeah, and okay, so let's look at it. Let me ask you this way. Or ask you this. If you think by 14, 15, they're going to end up in jail. Do you think that's the place to, because again, now you eliminate that risk of like them shooting up a vigil or something. You have them, all in one place, kind of.
That would be an idea, because again, when you start talking about, just like you said, everybody can't leave Philadelphia. I agree with that. And everybody, like that mentality, everybody's not going to think, I have to prioritize, let me quit this job because I have to be a parent first. So everybody's not going to think that way. So yeah, in a situation, so I think that when you say it starts at the home, you would have to get everybody to think the same way, almost like hold a standard of, this is how you raise these kids. And you're not going to do that. But if you have them all in jail, yes, you can have outreach programs. You can have mandatory high school. Like mandatory high school. You can have mandatory church or religious programs. You could have mandatory electives, shop, electrician, plumber. All these things you have to do to do your time. And you get a little reward for whatever, even if it's 46 cents, whatever the fuck it may be, you get an incentive to do all these things. But you can't just sit here, lay around, play cards, watch TV, and do your time.
Right.
You have to get up every day. We're going to wake you up. You have a litany of shit to do and programs to be in, and
optional.
School. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's mandatory. You have to do these things as a part of your stay. So, and I look at it like the being away from home, being locked up in a cell is the punishment part. But while I'm here, the rehabilitation part is the things that I have to do every day that I'm required to. Like, I can't lay in the bed and bullshit. I can't just go play cards. All that shit is a privilege that I have to earn, and I earn that through work, church. I earn that through my, the stuff that I'm doing. Like, if I'm helping a young guy, like whatever I'm doing, I'm helping somebody, and I'm doing something so I can better somebody else and myself. And these are the things I'm required to do on a daily basis if I'm here for 20 years.
And depending on the severity of
and in doing that, you create skill sets for yourself so that if you do enter society one day, you know how to do stuff.
And I think personally, they need to start with those who will enter society. And I'm not saying like a lifer, but I mean, I think the primary focus should be on the younger inmates, and also those, again, depending on the severity of your crime, that we know you got, 24 months or you got 3 to 5. Like, you are going to enter society, so we want to help prepare you. If you got 60 years, it really, it could be great. You can have something to do while in here, but the goal should be preparing you for the re-entry into society, right, where you can be, contributing in a positive manner.
Yeah, so that sounds like I hear what you're saying, and I agree with it, but you don't want to okay,
no,
you
I'm
got
not
60 years, leave them behind, like y'all
no, but they
lost
shouldn't
children.
Be the priority.
No, I get it. Yeah, you should put
or maybe
more,
it should be optional for them.
You should put, optional for them, but mandatory for people with 15 years or 20 years or less.
And
something like that.
Right, and depending on the severity of your crime.
And how old you are.
One of the incentives could be dependent on your successful completion, whether it's an educational program, a job training program. It could potentially decrease your sentence depending on the severity of your crime. If you went here for a gun charge, not a body, but a gun charge, and you got 3 to 5 years, and you could possibly get out in 28 months because you completed this, you kept maintaining this job, and maybe coordinate with some entities outside of the prison system where there's some job placement. Again, that will help instill you having something that's like, nah, I don't want to mess this up. Help gearing them towards home ownership. Things that they, like you always say, you never dreamt about what you wanted to do or be at 30 because you didn't see yourself living past 18. So many of them probably don't even think about owning a home, having a family, doing all of those things in life because they're not even seeing themselves past young adulthood, let alone into adulthood, into middle age. So if you help set that foundation, give them something to learn, give them something to work towards so that they see this is attainable, then it's like,
it's a tough task.
I don't want to mess up this opportunity to have this freedom and have this good life.
It's a tough task to do when you talk about kids who have accepted I'm in the jungle, and that's why they don't give a fuck, because they have accepted that every day I come outside, I could die or get shot, and it's like that's a fucked up mindset to be in every day. And you probably couldn't relate to this because females don't come up like that or having to think that way, but it's drastic out there, and I don't know what the answer is. Whether you
but like you said, in the jungle. So now that we take you out of the jungle, we put you in the cage. Maybe
it's a different type of jungle. Jail's worse than the street sometimes. So it's I agree with you. There should be more outreach there because we have you all in one place, and like you said, we can separate. Okay, you got life sentence for 5 homicides. Let's not pay that much attention to you because this guy got 10 years and he going back into society. So I get what you're saying.
Or this 22-year-old got 36 months. Let's help him get his life on track. And let's put him on a fast track to do it, because we don't have 15 years to help him, rehabilitate. We want to make sure in these 3 years when he hit the streets that
he's better.
Exactly.
He's better. Yep.
So that's all I'm saying. Like I think
that's a great idea. So we're saying one approach is prison should be better. It shouldn't be all about punishment. There should be some rehabilitation in prisons. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this ain't our lane, and I don't even.
Yeah, and again, the punishment is being away, locked up. Like, nobody shouldn't be in jail chipping big rocks to little rocks or making license plates and shit like that. Like, the punishment is I'm away from my family. I can't do, somebody's telling me what to do all hours of the day. That's the punishment. Where's the rehabilitation? That's what's lacking, and people get that shit fucked up with, okay, you go to jail, you're supposed to be turning big rocks into little rocks.
Well, I mean, then you now we talking bureaucratic red tape, because when we look at the recidivism rates, private contracted prisons, they depend on that because that's how they're going to make their money.
Right.
So it's hard to break a system to have people not go back to jail that was designed for people to come back to jail.
They have to keep vacancy,
Yeah, they make money based on how many beds they could fill, and that's a projected number. So they are already counting their budget based on how many projected beds will be filled in 2024, and having empty beds means they lose money. Yep. So, I mean, it's a lot of...
It's like having an apartment building and you're not renting out apartments.
Right.
They're just sitting there. Or you got an apartment building with 50 units and half of them they're empty. Like, you're going to need people
but
to
you
be
got
in there
maintenance men.
Yeah.
You paying the electric bill for the whole building. You paying the water bill. You don't want to lose money, so you need as many people here as possible. So I mean, there are ways. It costs money though, and that's the thing.
Everything we're talking about is linked to something else that you have to do.
Yeah.
Like, where does it start? Because this is that is this is that is this, and so on.
You know what though? I don't think there's one starting point. I think that's why you have to attack it. You have to have preventive measures, and then you have to have proactive measures and reactive. So try to help those from going to jail, and then those who are in jail, let's try to help those get out and not come back. You have to hit, what they call it, the two-headed snake. Is that a thing?
Two-headed snake?
Yeah.
Like a sea monster?
I don't know. Maybe I made that up.
Probably.
You gotta attack it from both. You gotta attack it from both ends. I forget little
She got so old. She heard old stuff from back in the day that she didn't hear.
But you gotta attack it from both ends. Is the point I was trying to make. So, to your point, what's the starting point? I don't think it is. Or you could look at it like a pentagon. It might be 5 different points that you gotta attack it from in order to get to the nucleus. But whether it's through faith, so we know Philadelphia has a huge Muslim population, but there's also Christian leaders. I think those are probably the 2 main ones, and even Catholicism, because there's some white boys out there that's doing a lot of crime too, and we know a lot of them are raised as Catholic. So whatever it takes, attack it from a spiritual aspect, attack it from a job training, attack it from education. Some people just really need to go to jail, and then also that was my next point, a mental health standpoint, because there are some people that I don't even want to. They have issues they can be on a healing journey. I'm not talking about a mental health issue with people who have psychiatric issues, where there may be some of them too, but you got a lot of kids out here who are hurting. Mm-hmm. They are hurting.
Misplaced anger, don't know how to deal with
never knew they daddy, mommy beating them, seeing men in and out the house with their mom, seeing women in and out the house with their dad. They're being sexually abused. They're not eating. They're seeing their mom being abused. They're losing friends left and right. Like, there is some trauma that is in these babies that they're holding it in. They're being angry. They're being angry, or they don't have the families, so they are assimilating to this gang culture, which really ain't gangs. Like, they ain't blooding and cripping, but they're assimilating to this gang culture just for that sense of belonging. And they scared. A lot of them out here scared. They don't even know how to shoot. That people are getting killed, but they're shooting a lot of people that they don't even intend to shoot.
And she's right. It's a lot of people die because another motherfucker don't want somebody to think he pussy. That's just it. A lot of people die because one 15-year-old don't want another 15-year-old to think I'm pussy.
And guess what? That other 15-year-old probably wouldn't pull the trigger either. So neither one of y'all want to look like a punk to each other. It's just who is more afraid of being exposed, so they're going to be the first one to step forward.
My nana used to say they out there fighting, one scared and the other one glad of it.
But we have to pray for our city.
Gillie's son was one of thousands of young kids that's murdered in the city, and it's just a shame. Condolences to his family and all the families that go through victims of gun violence and losing kids and brothers and sisters and fathers, uncles, cousins. It's a fucking shame, and I don't know. That's a city I was born and raised in. I kind of seen the writing on the wall earlier, and like and was in the street and know how crazy it is there. Homicides going up every year. Like, people have to pay attention to this shit and understand that, okay, it was 275 homicides 5 years ago. Now we getting to 350, 375. Like, the shit is crazy. When you start seeing women being shot, young kids being shot, like, and that starts to become the normal thing, that's when you need to start making decisions. And she's right. Everybody can't just pick up and leave. And there's a lot of people who don't want to leave. Like, this is my city. I live here. But that shit is wild. And people have to move accordingly. I know a lot of people move how they wish it was, but you got to move how it is, the reality of the situation. And if it ain't safe for you to be in certain places, don't be there. Don't be peer pressured into going places. Like, be safe, that's all. And again, shout out to all the families, condolences to all the families who had gun violence and lost people.
So I just wanted to read a stat, as you mentioned that as much, and this is not shootings, this is murders. Surprisingly, as of July 25th, the murder rate in Philadelphia is down 22%. For the same time as last year. So, and the prior year was even higher. So in 2023, the murder rate is the same as it was in 2020 as of July 25th, 240 murders. Now, between 2020 and 2021, it jumped up from 240 as of July 25th to 315. Mm-hmm. Went down a little bit in 2022 to 308, and now we're at 240 again. So maybe we're trending in the right direction, but again, it's still far too many that are being shot. As far as the total murders, in 2020, there were 499 for the year, 562 in 2022. It went down, 2021. It went down in 2022 to 516. Hopefully.
So I grew up in, the thick of it. I would say 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96. Those were my years in the street. Mm-hmm. And the highest murder rates then was 300. That's what they were trying to cap things at, 275, 300, like that. So now to see stuff being at 500, like, you got to look at that. That's 200 more bodies in the city in a year.
Yeah, in 1990, the total murders were, no, baby, you got to fix that, 500.
90 what?
1990.
Okay, that's 90.
It was 500 murders.
Okay.
Now, it did start to, that it looks like that was the highest by that time. It had reached a peak. Because and also the crack epidemic. So you figure in 10 years, between 1981 was 363, 1984 went down to 263, then it kept trending up. It hit 500 in 1990.
So
and then
91 to 96 is what I'm saying.
It was 440, 425, 439. Yeah, so, it was high, but it started trending down. Things started getting better. So it has ebbed and flowed. It definitely has ebbed and flowed.
And I said they were trying to keep
under 300.
I didn't say that there were.
No, right.
I said they, and that day, that's what the news would say. They're trying, and the police commissioner would say, we're trying to keep the murders at 275, 300 a year.
To your point, though, it was 500 in 1990, and again, we just said it was 562 in 2021. So, I mean, it's been... We just have to continue to pray for our city. It gives me chills to think that we're at this point of this many people being killed. Like this many people being killed. 10 years. So here's another thing. So this is 2023, right? And I said we're at 240 as of July 25th. 10 years ago in 2013, it was 246 for the year. So here we are, just 7 months. We got 5 more months to go.
Yeah, so you're on pace for another 180 murders or something like that.
Yeah.
Not another 240, but like at least 180 because you're into the July month already.
If things don't improve, which...
And you got the dog days of summer. You got August, you know what I mean? Like, it gets crazy.
You got holiday weekends where things get crazy. We still have Labor Day weekend.
Yep. Again, the family's condolences to everybody. And we just wish that people would have more conversations like this. Again, we know it's people out there such as Gillie and Wallow who do this type of shit every day and speak to the youth and try to gear game towards them, as they say. So it's a thing that we need to have more conversations around. But these are the people that's going to shape tomorrow. These are the people that's going to be doing shit tomorrow, and it ain't going to be none left if they die at this rate. Yeah. Like, that's just crazy.
Question. I know you said it's not our lane, and I've said it too, because it hasn't, and we're not faking like we're these, community spokespersons, but we lived in the community and it's happening. But if an opportunity presented itself, like some sort of program that goes to prisons and talks to the youth, is there anything that ever crossed your mind that like you would be interested in?
I would be interested in it, but I would have to be ready for it. Like, you can't just show up and orate to people. That's real shit. Like,
no, I don't mean like just you. I mean if it was like a group of men going.
I know what you meant, but prisoners see through that shit. Like, you talking real shit to real people who got real time. So that you can't be up there fucking bullshitting or playing around. Like, you can't teach what you don't know. So yeah, I mean, I've thought that, like, okay, my story, my time, my experience it can change somebody's life. Yeah, it's a book when you look at it, but can you orate that? Can you get that out in a way? And I'm very articulate, so I would be interested in it, but it's not like, I wouldn't say I wouldn't be scared.
Even if it wasn't like a speaking thing, if it was like a mentorship, like a one-on-one type of thing with...
Well, you gotta talk to people. You can't just...
No, what I'm saying is, like, I understand you would be scared speaking to, but if it was like, okay, we're going to take this group of 20 men and we've identified 20 young men with potential and assign, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would just hope that, my guy don't have a triple murder and he's...
Well, again, young men with potential, and again, not saying that the person with
somebody's face or something like
hopefully
that.
They're not getting out, so they wouldn't be part of the program. The program would be geared towards those who will one day, re-enter society. So we want to, I just was curious. I think that would be something to do. For me, I would love to talk to young girls, but to your point, I don't have that street experience in the sense that I've been through some things in my life, not in the criminal world, so I think it would be hard. Motivational speaking, trying to help them, mentoring as far as, finding their way in a professional world, encouraging them. Mm-hmm. But to your point, I don't think I would be a great candidate in that space. They'd be like, bitch, you ain't never had to scrounge for no meals out here. You ain't never had to sell.
Stole. And it's like, you can't fake that type of shit. So,
and I like to speak and help people, but I know, like, I appreciate your transparency in saying that. Like, that wouldn't be my, like, I would be shocked by their stories. I probably wouldn't even be able to talk to them.
Exactly. I was ready to say, again, you compared to your problems that you had, I'm not putting any, like,
I ain't never missed a meal as a kid. You know,
I ain't shunning what you went through, but I'm just saying, so you hear some people shit and you're like, Jesus Christ. Like,
yeah.
And again, I say that because I know you have to meet people where they are.
Right.
And sometimes you can't relate to where they are. So you can't even go down there to meet them there because they're going to know you full of shit. Because you never been there. Like, you never missed a meal. You don't know what that's like. You never not washed for a week. You don't know what that's like. You never, like, it's just a bunch of shit that you may have never. But then you got to meet that person and nurse them back from where they are.
Yeah.
And it's tough to do that when you can't relate. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And
for the shit that they went through that you can relate to, you right there. You can talk about it because you got the experience. But when they don't have the information and you don't have the information either because you never experienced that shit, it's tough. Yeah.
And I do think in some spaces you don't have to have experienced exactly what somebody has, but I agree and I respect your opinion that in that space, yeah, I don't think I would be as effective, but I think you would be great in helping some young men.
I think that I would be too. I mean, I think I would be great at everything. That's just how I think, and I ain't trying to be smart, but I think I would be great at it. I think I have a story to tell, and it's intriguing. But again, it's just
right. But I mean, like like you talking to a group of young men who were sexually abused. That wouldn't be your lane.
Like
that's what I'm saying. But I think in that space,
even if that's a part of your story, I can't tap into that anger.
Right.
So I don't even know how to approach you when it's time to heal that part. Well, we can talk about the streets and all that shit and how to deal with men and all this stuff that you went through. But when you say you angry about this too, then it's like, I got to bring somebody else in because I don't know shit about that. And I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to be insensitive. Or I don't want to overlook something that shouldn't be overlooked.
Yeah.
And when you not trained in that area, that's exactly what will happen. And then the kid will be like, you full of shit. I knew I shouldn't have opened up to you. Like that I don't want that to be.
Yeah.
Second topic of discussion. That was a good conversation, babe. Bronny's son, LeBron James' son, Bronny, went into cardiac arrest. And, the definition of cardiac arrest is your heart stops. This kid is 18, 19 years old, played basketball his whole life. Not that this can't happen, but there's a lot of young people having issues with respiratory, cardiac arrest, all kinds of issues with their body. And a lot of people attribute this to vaccines. Is there a vaccine conspiracy? And do you think that, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but there's just a lot of people who are going through issues so young. Do you think that these issues still would be there? There wasn't no COVID and there wasn't a vaccine and all this stuff. This is what you attribute it to, or is this just a part of God's will?
I think part of it, the conspiracy comes into play because there are so many unknowns. Because they led us down this path of fear, of trying to drive the herd to, follow the masses to do this thing they wanted us to do. And to be honest, the government was transparent in some aspects in saying that they didn't know the long-term effects because it was just created. And how do you know the long-term effects of something that ain't been around long-term? And I think they try to placate everyone with saying, oh, it's safe, it's effective, but just using common sense, you don't know. Like, there's been so many medications that have been on the market, released, and it's safe, it's effective, and then 3 years later, we made a mistake. Like heart medication, blood pressure medication, eczema creams. Like, so is it a conspiracy theory? A conspiracy, I think, meaning that they conspired to do this? No, I don't think so. But is it possible? Is the theory that this could be harming people, has harmed people, will harm people? I think it's plausible.
But wouldn't it harm everybody who got the shot?
No.
Why wouldn't it?
Because you think about this, right? Okay, here's an example. We see the commercials for mesothelioma. If you've been exposed to asbestos in the 70s and you have mesothelioma.
That's a cancer thing. Hold on, let me make my point. That's a cancer thing. If you have something that needs a vaccine, so chickenpox, polio, things like that would affect everybody.
No, not everybody would have the COVID didn't affect everybody. The virus itself didn't affect everybody the same.
But they didn't know that then. So we talking in hindsight. I'm speaking of stuff that they made vaccines for that affected everybody, which that's what a vaccine is for. If you get anybody that comes into contact with chickenpox going to get chickenpox. No. Anybody that comes into contact with polio was going to get polio. It wasn't like people came into contact with polio and didn't get it.
No, but so no, that you're babe, that's incorrect. So personal experience. When I was in the 7th grade, my baby sister was born that year. My middle sister had chickenpox. She couldn't even be around my baby sister because they didn't want a newborn baby to get it. I was in the 7th grade. 12 people in my classroom, and we went to the same school. So I guess it was an outbreak in the school because my sister had it. 12 people in my one classroom had it. I'm 42 years old. I've never had chickenpox. Now, and this was before the varicella vaccine, which is the chickenpox vaccine. When that came out and we went to the doctor to get it, they tested my blood and said, oh, it was in my system. Like I had.
So what if you had a mild case that you didn't know? What if you had 2-3 bumps? 1 on your ass, 2 on your legs, and you didn't attribute it to chickenpox.
I never had an itch. I tried to get it because I wanted to be out of school like everybody else. My dumb self didn't think about how bad the itch would be. My sister had to wear gloves, and she was like 8 years old. She wasn't like she was little, but she wasn't like a toddler. She had to wear gloves because she was scratching herself to death. I just wanted chickenpox to stay home. So I say that to say, everything doesn't affect it. Think about penicillin. My baby sister, she can't, if she's sick, she will die if a doctor makes a mistake and gives her penicillin because she's allergic.
Aren't there some things that are vaccines were made for that if everybody come in contact with you'll get it? Aren't there some things that, I know you're pointing out chickenpox, but aren't there something?
Chickenpox, penicillin, like there's certain.
What do you mean penicillin's a drug?
Well,
I'm talking about a disease.
I'm just saying a vaccine is, I'm just speaking of pharmaceuticals.
That's being allergic to penicillin, though. That's something different. I'm talking about a disease that requires a vaccine that if any human being gets in contact with, they're going to get it. You name chickenpox, and I'll give you that. But isn't there a plethora of others that if you come in contact with this is why we created a vaccine. Because too many people will get this and it'll be a fucking outbreak. So that's why a vaccine is created. Because something like chickenpox can take over.
Well, I mean,
something like polio can take over. These viruses can take over. That's why vaccines are created, and they're not just dealt with. Because some things are so powerful that they can eradicate a population.
Well, okay, COVID is proof right there.
But they didn't know in the beginning. They thought that it would. Now, 3 years later, and they know it didn't. But at the time, they thought that it would.
I guess I'm not following what you're trying to say. What you're saying.
At the time that if you're coming in contact back in the 50s with polio and shit, they seen it eradicating the population, so they made a vaccine.
So you're saying that everybody that came in contact with it would have caught it?
Yes, that's what they were thinking when they make vaccines. So they thought at the time, we need to make a vaccine for COVID-19. It's not a regular cold. If everybody comes in contact with this, they're going to catch it. This is what they thought at the time, before no information was out. So at the time, they made a vaccine because they thought everybody, like a polio who comes in contact with this, you're going to get it. It's not like you have polio, I can be around you, and I'm not going to get polio.
So So I don't know if that's true or not. Like the things that we get vaccines for, well, we don't get polio vaccines anymore, but we get vaccines for measles, mumps, and rubella. We get vaccines.
Measles is a perfect example. That's highly contagious.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's a thing where you're definitely going to get it. I don't know.
Okay.
So to answer your question, I don't know. What I'm saying is, just because there's side effects of something doesn't mean that everybody will have the same side effect. So to your original question, if there are side effects to the vaccine, they're saying this is a potential side effect. Doesn't mean that's going to affect everybody the same way. Some people may never, that side effect may never manifest in them, but it doesn't mean that it isn't still a side effect of that medication. Mm-hmm. Sometimes what happens is when they have to black box or take a medication or something off the market is when the percentage of those who do experience that side effect is greater than because they build in a margin for everything to say, oh, this is a potential side effect, but this is an acceptable margin. If it happens to 2, and I'm just making these numbers up, if it happens to 2% of the people, then that's okay. But if it happens to 10%, maybe we got to stop. Yeah. Now, I don't know what the true numbers are. So they know that this is a side effect. This will happen to some people. But who wants to take the side effect of having a heart attack if we truly know that that's a side effect? And maybe they did tell us that myocarditis was a potential side effect. But did they know, what the acceptable margin was? Because it's new. How could anybody have known? And that risk, okay, having a side effect of you may catch a rash is one thing, but you might have a heart attack? I don't think anybody really would want to roll the dice and accept that risk.
Right. But there's medications and shit that people take every day that have a side effect of a heart attack, that have a side effect of suicidal thoughts, that have a side effect of kidney failure, that have a side effect of organ failure.
But you got to think about...
So people take risks on, and they put that shit on TV. And then that stuff that you look and say, damn, people are requesting these drugs when they go to the hospital, the doctors, I want to try this. But clearly on TV, on a commercial, it said the side effects was suicidal thoughts or heart attack or organ failure.
But again, if you go to the doctor and they tell you, yeah, it's a 1% chance, and there's 90,000 people taking it, so you think, okay, that 1%, 90 people this might happen to, you think, I'm not going to be part of that. Or
what, you would play like that about your life now?
But listen, or it might be a thing where you really have to balance quality of life. Like if I have a serious mental health issue and I'm just pulling a drug out of the hat, where I have to take Seroquel, and I know that it may have some of these side effects, but if I don't take it, I could be schizophrenic and run in front of a train. Then you have to weigh the pros and cons and think, you know what? I might just have to take this to save my life. Yeah, it may cause some other problems, like the medication that has the side effects. It's a psychiatric medication, but then the side effects of that medication is you get the tremors. So you think to yourself, I'm willing to deal with the tremors if it'll stop my bipolar or help me manage my bipolar episodes. Or I'm willing to deal with the tremors if it'll help me come out of a severe depression. But you're talking about
the tremors. There's people asking for drugs who had the side effect as heart attack. Is what I'm saying. The side effect is suicidal thoughts.
But people think it's one. I agree. You know how I feel about medicine.
Right. So I'm just saying.
How I feel about medicine.
And they're not holding back on telling you that shit. And you're still like, I want to try Lexapro or fucking Shazanasane or whatever the fuck these medicines are. You
know how I feel about medications. I'm afraid of those. I don't care if it's 1%. I feel like I'm going to be part of that 1%. But some people think, oh, it's small enough. It's a small enough margin where they think they're willing to risk it.
I hope Brian's son is okay. I hope Bronny is okay. I hope it's just social media, the way that things are plastered in our faces and we see more of it. I want to attribute it to that. I don't want to attribute it to think that a ton of people in the next 5 years are going to drop dead because of something we did in 2020.
Yeah, but who knew that working with asbestos would cause as many people to develop mesothelioma at the time that it was happening? Right. Nobody would have agreed. I mean, now they wear the suits and all that, but all the men who was working in that field and it was in tile and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what they didn't know, and then you don't know until people start getting sick.
Yeah. We don't learn shit. So 3 grams. David Grush is a Congress person. I'm just gonna say that. couldn't quite figure out who he was. But somebody from Congress that admits they're aliens, that admits that he was a part of a crash recovery, a wreckage, a crash.
This
recovery.
is the UFO that recently crashed.
And he said that there was non-human life form at the recovery site, and that there is video and pictures, and there's actual witnesses who saw and have these, what did he call them? Biologics, yeah. So we got aliens.
You know, it's...
I would love to fucking see what it is and what it looks like.
The curiosity in me definitely wants to know, but the same part of me, I want to remain. Ignorance is bliss. And I it's kind of like, if I don't know, then I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, that's scary as hell. Because, and this is the thing too, what if it's more of them than it is of us?
I'm sure it is. Without a doubt. What?
Why are you sure?
They're
it's 4 billion people on the earth. You think it's more than 4 billion aliens?
Okay, now you think about it like that. There's probably more of us than them.
But you don't know, because there's more planets out there.
Yeah, they could be more. They're they have more technology. They're more stronger.
That I don't know. I don't know what they are. They could just be beings out there.
What are you talking about? Like, if they can shoot laser beams and shit like that from spaceships and don't have propulsion systems for engines like we do, their technology is light years past ours. Like, why don't you understand that?
Because when you say technology, it adds a human element to it. Like, we don't know. I don't know. And I don't... hurts my brain.
No, technology does not add a human element.
I mean, it makes me
technology adds an artificial an element to
I know,
it. That's not who
people
we
have
are.
to develop technology, right? Like, people have to develop it and put systems together.
Yeah, but people are dumb. They're finding out about shit that's already there. They're just finding out how to put it together. Oh, this makes this.
So what if it's, I mean, so it's weird because it's like when they say non-human, okay, but what if like they look like us, they just don't have our human innards and stuff. Like when we say aliens, I don't want to think that like it's a bunch of these like ET looking creatures out there, or
they don't look like humans. They probably it's probably some type of Terminator or Predator type thing. That's what I would think it is. Like, that's the technology.
Like a monster.
Yeah, like a predator. Like some type of thing that can, like, and be invisible. Some type of thing that has, like, automatic weapons on its body armor of some sort. Like, you can't just walk up to it and hit this, like us, this fucking flesh we got. We can't stand a fight against a fucking house cat. But I think an alien is much more often than we are.
You know what I think? This is just my theory, because I don't believe God created anything outside of this universe, right? That's just me. I think some people somewhere created these, because you know how they have like these AI robots and stuff, like sex dolls or whatever. Somebody somewhere created some flying mechanism and they put these AI things and stuff in it to kind of like...
You're so naive. You're so goddamn naive. Ram number 2. Barack Obama's personal chef at one time now is found dead in a pond at Martha's Vineyard.
And they say he flipped over in a like paddle boat accident.
What is it with these political figures who work for them dying? Not the political figure,
but the people that work for them.
The Clinton, you can Google this people. The
Wasn't Clintons, like 13 people?
No, I think they're up to like 33.
The Clintons?
Yeah. The Clintons have like 33 people who have died for that used to work for them, whether it be a security advisor or a trainer or whatever the fuck that they was involved with. They died some weird type of death. Like, you know, one guy was tied up against a tree, roped, hands, arms bound, shot with a shotgun, and the cause of death, suicide.
You know my theory? Some way, somehow, maybe not even intentionally, they become aware of something that maybe they walk in a room by mistake and hear a phone call. They, hear an argument. They, see a piece of mail they become aware of something
that they
maybe
shouldn't have been aware of.
They may be unaware that they're aware of it, but just to take all precautions, they are taken out. I don't want to know nothing.
Secret Service, I'm sure CIA people these people been taken. How are you tied to a tree
and commit suicide? Can you imagine how many ex-CIA operatives have been killed?
Yeah.
Like if you quit, they gotta take you out.
Yeah. Especially if you done some rotten shit where they told you we're gonna drop you in this village, kill everybody.
Yeah, like and those black
you go into some village in Africa and kill 50 fucking people and then sneak out at night and you think you just gonna come back home and go to Iowa and live on your farm? Nah, the fact that you did that for them, it's a problem because now they got something on you and they'll take you the fuck out.
You ever had any military aspirations?
No, not at all. Not even a little bit.
I wanted to be in the Air Force for a split second, but it was only because I was really lost in life around 18, 19, and I just felt like that was my way out. But I was overweight, so it probably saved me. That was probably the only time being fat saved me.
We went to the movies a few months ago and saw a movie called Cocaine Bear. And now people, they say, should not come to Miami because along the shores there are sharks, great white sharks, bull sharks, and tiger sharks eating kilos of cocaine that float up on the beach and are killing people left and right.
I don't mean
ravishly killing people.
Wow.
So now we have cocaine shark.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and they showed the kilos in silver packaging. They washing up on the shores around Miami, and sharks are eating these things and are killing machines, just killing everything.
Wow. So how many people have been killed because of it?
Well, a couple people have been killed, and it's happening on the islands too.
That's crazy. I am very adventurous when it comes to water activities, and I think I said a couple weeks ago, I would love to go down in the water in a closed-in cage, all around me to see the sharks. But to just be willy-nilly, I think about back to when we went.
What do you do?
I think about back when we went snorkeling in the water. That was the dumbest thing ever. The
dumbest shit ever.
That was the dumbest thing ever. Because if a shark had bit us, we would have just been bit or dead. We either would have been bit and hurt or we would have been dead. But that, as much as I love the water, I do not like the ocean. That
makes me mad now. The fact
that we did that.
That's the dumbest. We jumped in 40 feet of fucking water to look at fucking little fish.
Yeah.
Barracuda and shit, no.
Yeah, it's just something I would
no.
Even
no
when we
training,
in
no
Puerto
nothing.
Rico on them wave runners, why would you let us do that?
What in 30,000 feet of water?
Yeah.
That he didn't have to say that.
Yeah, he said it was enough water
to put the Mount Everest under.
Put Mount Everest under it,
Well, that's how deep the water was. It was that we were in.
Riding wave runners. That was if a shark had bit my wave runner, you wouldn't have been able to save me.
And in 30,000 feet of water, sharks are fucking the size of buses. That's not where no fucking baby.
Yeah, because the bigger the water, the bigger the sharks grow.
It's that shark could have been the size of a car.
Our sisters was with us. We were all in danger. We were all in danger.
That was a bad thing. You look back and the shit we did.
It was so fun. Well, it wasn't that fun because I was so sick. I get bad motion sickness, y'all. And the man wanted to sit and talk to us. I left the circle. I had to keep moving. I was like a shark. I couldn't sit still. I had to keep moving. And he looking at me like, you okay? I'm like, he better shut up. I'm about to throw up on this machine.
A2TP podcast coming to a close. It's your boy, International Walk.
It's your girl, Tosh, the co-hostess with the mostest.
We hope every week that you guys enjoy the conversation. Because we do.
You like my
A2TPpodcast.com, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Anchor, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Twitter, TikTok, and Fresh Inspiration on Threads.
Check us out.
If you fuck with us, you fuck with us. If you don't,
you should.
Peace.